Emily Parker had not expected the weekend to end like this. She had planned a calm drive back to Seattle after a business conference, thinking the weather would stay light and manageable. But the sky turned darker halfway through the highway, and snow began to fall faster than the radio had predicted. At first, she thought she could push through it. She had always been the kind of person who kept going, even when things felt risky or heavy. But within an hour, the falling snow grew thick enough that the world outside her windshield became a blur of white, and the wind pushed against her small car like a cold, angry hand. When her headlights flickered for the first time, she shrugged it off. Cars act up in winter all the time, she told herself. When they flickered a second time and then her dashboard lights dimmed, she felt her throat tighten. By the time her engine coughed and fully shut off, the cold fear in her chest rose faster than the storm around her. She pressed the hazard lights and prayed someone would see her, because she was stuck in the middle of a snowy Washington highway with no cars in sight. Then she saw headlights behind her, cutting through the snow like two warm stars. A truck slowed down and stopped right behind her car. For a second, Emily was scared. She didn't know who it was. She didn't know if she was safe. But when the driver's door opened and a tall figure stepped out, she recognized the confident walk and the familiar winter jacket. It was Noah Carter, the same Noah who had once been her best friend in college. The same Noah she used to stay up late studying with. The same Noah she never confessed her feelings to. They hadn't seen each other in 2 years. But before she could react, she noticed someone else climbing out of the passenger seat, a man with calm eyes, a steady posture, and a quiet presence she remembered vaguely from 2 old gatherings. It was Liam Hayes, Noah's cousin, the one who barely spoke but always listened closely. Emily stepped out of her car, wrapping her coat tighter around herself, feeling the cold hit her face like sharp little needles. Noah reached her first. "Emily, are you okay?" His voice held disbelief and concern at the same time, like he couldn't decide whether to be shocked or worried. "My car just died," she said, breath visible in the freezing air. "Of course it did," he muttered softly, shaking his head. "This storm is much worse than the forecast said." Before she could ask what they were doing on this road, Liam approached, hands in his pockets, gaze steady. "The highway is closing," he said. "They're telling everyone to find a place to wait it out." Noah nodded. "Come with us. There's a motel 10 minutes from here. It's nothing fancy, but it's warm." Emily hesitated only for a moment, not because she didn't trust them, but because she wasn't ready for the rush of emotions that came with seeing Noah again, especially on a night like this, when everything felt too close, too raw, and too real. But she had no choice. It was unsafe to stay there alone. They helped her into the truck, and the 3 of them drove through the thickening storm. The windshield wipers struggled, but Noah kept his focus sharp. Liam occasionally checked the weather map on his phone, trying to find updates. Emily sat between them, feeling the warmth of the heater on her knees and the heaviness of unspoken history on her chest. The motel came into view, like a lonely box of lights in a frozen world. It was old, the kind of place travelers stayed out of necessity rather than choice. But the neon vacancy sign flickered, promising at least some warmth and shelter inside the small lobby. An older man behind the counter apologized as soon as Noah asked about rooms. "We've only got 1 left," he said. "Everyone else passed through earlier before the highway got shut down." Emily felt her stomach drop, but Noah didn't flinch. He turned to her with steady confidence. "We'll figure it out. You're not sleeping in the truck." Liam nodded in silent agreement. They took the key and walked down the creaky hallway until they reached a door with peeling paint. Noah pushed it open and warm air greeted them. The room was small, furnished with 2 twin beds and an old sofa near the window. The heater hummed loudly, but it was doing its best. Emily stood there, trying to smile through the awkwardness. "Well, it's better than the highway." Noah dropped his bag beside one bed. "You take whichever bed you want. I'll take the sofa." Emily frowned immediately. "No, that's not fair. We take turns." She didn't mean anything strange by it was just practical and polite. But the moment she said it, the room suddenly felt heavier. Not inappropriate, not uncomfortable, just emotionally charged. Something unspoken passed between the three of them. Maybe it was the sudden closeness. Maybe it was the tension of old memories. Or maybe it was the storm trapping them together with no space to pretend nothing had changed. Noah looked at her, his eyes soft but serious. "You don't have to worry about me." Liam stepped forward quietly. "She's right. We should keep things fair." Emily's heart beat a little faster, not because of fear, but because she wasn't used to both men watching her so carefully. So, thoughtfully, she sat on the edge of the bed and exhaled deeply. The storm outside roared, making the windows tremble. But inside the room, the silence felt louder than the wind. Noah moved closer, his voice low. "Emily, we never talked about what happened back then." Her breath caught. She had hoped to avoid that conversation forever. She never expected it to rise again, especially not in a motel during a snowstorm. "What do you mean?" she whispered, even though she already knew. He looked straight into her eyes. "You know exactly what I mean." And at that moment, with the storm howling outside and the weight of old feelings pressing gently but unmistakably between them, Emily realized the night was going to be much harder than she expected, not because of the storm, but because of everything she had left unsaid. The room felt warmer than before, but Emily's hands stayed cold. Noah's words kept echoing in her mind, pulling her back to a time she thought she had moved on from. For years, she had convinced herself that their story had ended the moment they took different paths in life. But standing there with him now, with the storm trapping all three of them in one small space, made every buried feeling rise again. Before Emily could respond to Noah, Liam spoke from the corner of the room. His voice was calm, but there was a firmness underneath. "Noah, don't push her. This night is already stressful enough." Emily glanced at him, grateful. Liam wasn't the kind of man who talked much, but when he did, his words carried weight. He stood near the window with his arms crossed, watching the storm swirl outside like a quiet guardian. Noah sighed and sat down at the edge of the bed. His shoulders dropped, showing he wasn't trying to start a fight. "I'm not pushing her. I just never stopped wondering." Emily stayed near the heater, warming her fingers slowly. She felt caught between two worlds, the past she shared with Noah and the present that suddenly included Liam in a deeper, more complicated way. The storm outside beat against the window, and the lights flickered for a second. Liam walked closer, checking the heater controls, then moved back to the window. He always seemed aware of the room, the silence, the mood, as if he was trying to hold everything steady. Emily finally spoke. "Noah, I wasn't pretending. I did have feelings, strong ones. But you were planning to move to Chicago after graduation. You were excited about it, and I didn't want to make anything harder." Noah looked up, eyes softening. "I still would have stayed if you said something." She shook her head. "That's exactly why I didn't. I didn't want to be the reason you gave up something important." Liam shifted slightly, and Emily felt his gaze on her, steady and gentle. He wasn't judging. He was just listening, which somehow made her heart beat even faster. Noah ran a hand through his hair. Frustrated, but not angry. "Emily, you didn't have to protect me. I could have made my own choice." "I know," she whispered, "but I was scared." The silence afterward was heavy but not empty. It was the kind of silence that carried truth, regret, and years of unsaid words to break the tension. Emily stood and walked over to hang her coat on the wall hook near Liam. When she reached for the hook, her fingers brushed unintentionally. The touch was small, soft, and brief, but it lingered in the air like a quiet spark. Emily quickly pulled her hand back, but she felt the warmth stay on her skin. Liam lowered his eyes as if he didn't want to make her uncomfortable. Yet his expression showed something fragile, something he didn't want to admit. She stepped back to the middle of the room, trying to steady her breathing. She didn't want to give either man the wrong impression. But she also couldn't pretend the moment didn't happen. Liam cleared his throat. "You should sit. You've been on your feet since the car stopped." Emily nodded and sat on the bed opposite Noah. Liam returned to his place near the window. but his eyes kept drifting toward her dot. Noah leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "You never told me any of this. I thought you just didn't feel the same." Emily shook her head again. "I felt everything. Maybe too much. But timing was wrong and we were both moving in different directions." "But you didn't even let me try," Noah said softly, his voice breaking just a little. Liam looked away as if giving them emotional privacy. But it was impossible to ignore that he was part of this moment too. Emily exhaled slowly. "Noah, we were young. I didn't know how to say any of those things without ruining the friendship. And I didn't want to lose you." Noah's voice softened further. "But we lost each other anyway." That hurt more than Emily expected. She looked down at her hands, trying to steady her thoughts. The heater hummed loudly, the storm roared, and for a moment the entire room felt like a memory she wasn't ready to face. Liam finally spoke again, gently. "Emily, you don't owe anyone an explanation for how you felt back then." He hesitated. "Or how you feel now." The last part hung in the air longer than it should have. Emily lifted her eyes and met his gaze. It was calm, deep, and honest. And it made her chest tighten in a different way than Noah's gaze did. She realized something quietly troubling. Noah represented her past. But Liam was becoming part of her present without her even noticing. To break the intensity, Noah stood and walked toward the sofa. "I'll sleep here tonight. You two take the beds." Emily immediately stood. "No. You said you'd take a bed." He shook his head. "Doesn't matter. You need rest." "It's not fair if only you're uncomfortable," she said, her voice growing firm. "We take turns. One night each." The words came out faster than she intended, but she meant them. She didn't want guilt. She didn't want tension. She didn't want Noah thinking he had to sacrifice anything just because old feelings resurfaced. Liam nodded in agreement. "She's right." Noah let out a quiet, defeated sigh. "Fine, but you take the bed tonight. Liam and I will figure out the rest." Emily sat again, her heart still racing. She felt the weight of both men's attention, though neither was staring at her directly. The air felt thick with unspoken emotions, but still safe and respectful. After a long pause, Noah looked up at Emily again. His voice was lower now, softer, almost fragile. "Emily, I'm not asking to go back to the past. I just needed to know if I was wrong about everything." She considered her words carefully. "You weren't wrong. We just didn't know how to handle anything back then." Liam stepped closer from the window. "What matters is what you want now." Emily looked between them, Noah's familiar face filled with quiet hope, and Liam's steady gaze offering gentle understanding. The contrast overwhelmed her. Noah reached out, a hand not touching her, but close. "Emily, whatever you're feeling, it's okay to say it." Her heart thudded painfully. "I don't know what I feel right now. Everything is happening too fast." Outside, the wind howled louder, making the windows shake again. Inside, emotions clashed quietly, creating a storm of their own. Emily stood abruptly, needing space, needing clarity. "I need some air." But when she opened the door, a wall of snow blocked the entrance completely. They were stuck, not just in the motel, but in the truth they could no longer ignore. The night settled deeper around the motel, turning everything outside the window into a blur of white and shadow. Inside the room, the air felt warmer, but the tension and emotions moved like quiet waves beneath the surface. Emily sat on the edge of the bed, blanket wrapped around her shoulders, trying to calm her thoughts after realizing they were completely snowed in. There was no escape, not from the storm, and not from the feelings that had been pushed into the open dot. Noah lay on one of the twin beds, staring at the ceiling. He looked restless, like his mind was running too fast for his body to keep up. On the other side of the room, Liam sat in the dim light near the window, sketchbook open on his lap. His pencil moved gently across the page, making soft scratches that became the only sound besides the heater's steady hum. Emily kept stealing small glances at both of them, trying not to make it obvious. Noah seemed conflicted, wounded by the truth that came out earlier. Liam seemed steady. But she knew quiet people often felt more than they showed. Liam lifted his eyes from the sketchbook and noticed her watching. "You look tired," he said in a calm voice. "Not just physically." Emily gave a small, dry laugh. "Is it that obvious?" "Very," he said without teasing. "You're carrying too much." She sighed and pulled the blanket tighter. "I think I've been carrying too much for years." Noah turned his head toward them, his voice heavy with unspoken emotion. "Emily, you don't have to hold everything alone anymore. Not tonight." His words hit her harder than she expected. She looked away, staring at the floor. "It's not that simple." "Could be," Noah said softly, "if you let it." Before she could respond, the lights flickered again. The heater rattled, then steadied. Emily's heart jumped for a second, worried the power might go out. Liam noticed her fear immediately. "It's okay," he said gently. "The motel owner said the generator is strong. It'll hold." His calm voice made her exhale slowly. She didn't know why, but Liam's reassurance felt different solid. Grounding. Noah pushed himself up to sit, elbows resting on his knees. "Emily," he said quietly, "whatever you're thinking right now, say it, don't hide it." "Not from me." "Not anymore." Emily froze. Both men were watching her, waiting. It made her chest tighten. She wasn't used to this kind of attention, this intensity. She stared at the window, watching snow swirl in circles under the motel lights. "I'm scared," she finally whispered. "Not of the storm. Not of being stuck. I'm scared of choosing wrong." Neither man spoke, giving her the space to continue. "I didn't want to lose you, Noah. That's why I stayed quiet back then. And now, after everything, I don't want to hurt anyone." Liam looked down, his hands still. "You won't hurt us by being honest." Emily turned toward him. "But someone will get hurt. You both know that." Liam's jaw tightened, but his eyes stayed soft. "Life hurts sometimes, but pretending doesn't fix anything." Noah nodded slowly, confirming the same truth in his own way. "We just don't want you running away like before." Emily swallowed hard. "I'm not running. I'm just lost." The room fell silent again, but this silence felt different. It wasn't awkward. It wasn't cold. It felt like all three of them were finally acknowledging the true things had shifted, and none of them knew how to move forward without breaking something. After a few minutes, Liam stood and crossed the room to refill his cup with hot water from the kettle. Emily watched him move with calm precision, as if making tea was his way of staying steady in emotional storms. He walked back and offered her the warm cup. "Drink, you'll feel better." She took it with a small smile. "Thank you." Noah watched the exchange quietly, but his expression wasn't jealous. It was thoughtful, almost careful. Emily sipped the hot water and felt warmth spread through her fingers. "I didn't expect tonight to turn into all this." Liam chuckled softly, a rare sound. "I don't think any of us did." Noah rubbed the back of his neck. "This storm picked one strange night to remind us of unfinished things." Emily stared at the cup, feeling emotions she didn't want to label. Maybe the storm didn't remind us. Maybe we were just avoiding all this for too long. Neither man disagreed. After a while, Noah lay back down, but Emily knew he wasn't sleeping. He kept glancing over at her, like he wanted to say something more but didn't trust himself to speak. Liam returned to the window seat and opened his sketchbook again. Emily tried to focus on the steam rising from her cup, but curiosity tugged at her. "What are you drawing?" she asked softly. Liam hesitated for a moment, then turned the page toward her. It was the view outside the window, the snowy parking lot, the old neon motel sign, the falling snow. But he had drawn it beautifully with careful detail. The scene looked peaceful, even though the storm was fierce. "It's how the night feels," Liam said. "Cold outside, warm inside. Quiet, but heavy." Emily felt her heart twist. "It's beautiful." Liam shrugged, embarrassed. "Just something to keep my hands busy." Noah sat up again. "He's good at pretending he's not talented." Liam shot him a look, but Noah just smiled lightly. Emily placed the cup aside and leaned back on her hands, exhaling. This is the strangest night of my life. Liam lowered his voice. Strange doesn't always mean bad. Before she could answer, a loud crack sounded outside. The three of them froze. Emily rushed to the window. What was that? Liam leaned closer to the glass. Looks like the snow caused a small branch to fall on the walkway. Noah checked the door, making sure they were still safe. We should stay inside. No more surprises tonight. Emily nodded, but her heart was beating too fast for his reassurance to fully settle. They were stuck. Stuck with emotions that had been quiet too long. Stuck with truths they couldn't unhear. Emily sat on the bed again and pulled the blanket around her shoulders. Liam returned to the window. Noah sat back down, watching her carefully. After a long-waited pause, Emily whispered the words she had been holding back. I'm afraid of hurting one of you, because I care about both of you in different ways. Liam looked at her, eyes calm but sad. Noah inhaled sharply, his face softening. And in that quiet motel room, with the storm howling outside and three hearts beating too close together, Emily realized that the hardest part wasn't the snowstorm. It was deciding which direction her art was willing to walk toward. Morning arrived quietly, as if the storm finally grew tired overnight. Soft gray light leaked through the motel curtains, and the world outside looked calm for the first time in hours. Inside the room, Emily blinked awake, confused at first by where she was. Then she remembered everything: the snowstorm, the tension, the confessions. The weight of two hearts pressing against her own. She sat up slowly and realized someone had switched places during the night. She distinctly remembered lying in one of the beds while Noah had taken the sofa. But now Noah was curled uncomfortably on the sofa, blanket tucked around him like he had moved there after she fell asleep. Liam was sitting in the corner near the chair, still awake, holding a warm cup of motel coffee. He didn't look tired, even though his eyes carried the weight of a long night. When he noticed Emily sitting up, he offered her a gentle smile. Morning, he said in a soft voice. Emily rubbed her forehead. Did you stay up all night? Liam shook his head lightly. Just most of it. Someone needed to keep an eye on the storm. Emily's chest tightened. His calm presence, his quiet care felt like something she wasn't prepared for but deeply appreciated. Before she could respond, Noah groaned softly and pushed himself up from the sofa. His hair was messy, his eyes puffy, but the first thing he noticed was Emily awake, sitting with a blanket around her shoulders. Hey, he said quickly, rubbing his eyes. Are you okay? Emily gave a small nod. I'm fine. But why are you on the sofa? You were in the bed when I fell asleep. I switched, Noah said simply. You needed the rest more than I did. Liam looked down at his coffee. But Emily saw something flash across his eyes, something tender and sad. Emily shook her head. Noah, you didn't have to do that. I know, he replied softly. But I wanted to. The room went quiet again, not awkward, but emotional in a way none of them knew how to handle. Outside, the wind had settled, but inside, the storm between their hearts still moved gently through the air. Liam stood and walked toward Emily. He placed the extra cup of coffee on the table near her. You should drink. It's not great, he said with a small laugh, but it's warm. Emily smiled weakly and took the cup. The heat felt good on her cold fingers. Thank you. For staying up. For everything. Liam nodded, but his eyes told her he wanted to say more. Noah sat on the bed across from hers, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees. He watched her carefully. Emily, we need to talk about last night. She swallowed. I know. But before she could continue, Liam spoke in a surprisingly soft tone. No rush. She just woke up. Emily felt caught in the middle again, but this time, the pressure felt different, gentler, but still heavy. Noah exhaled slowly. Emily, I'm not trying to make things harder, but I meant everything I said last night. I never stopped caring. Liam looked away, jaw tightening, but he didn't interrupt. Emily's heart felt squeezed. I cared too, Noah. I still do. But last night made me realize something. Both men looked at her. She continued slowly, choosing each word as if it were delicate glass. I've been afraid of hurting people my whole life. And somehow, without meaning to, I got stuck between two people who deserve honesty. Liam's voice came quietly. Then be honest. Emily turned toward him. The sadness in his eyes made her chest ache. Liam, you've been so kind to me. You've been steady when everything felt overwhelming. And that means more than you know. She paused, her voice trembling. But Noah, my heart never fully let go of him. Liam's shoulders dropped slightly, not out of defeat, but acceptance. He looked down, hands clasped together. I knew. Noah blinked, surprised. You knew? Liam nodded. I could see it. The way she looked at you, the way you reacted every time she spoke. I wasn't blind. Emily felt tears rising. Liam, I never wanted to hurt you. He shook his head gently. You didn't. People feel what they feel. I'd rather you choose honestly than hide anything. Noah looked at his cousin with a mixture of respect and guilt. Liam, I never meant to. Liam lifted a hand to stop him. You don't need to apologize. Emily loves you. That's not something to be sorry for. Emily gasped softly. Hearing those words from Liam felt like a bittersweet break inside her chest. Liam took a quiet breath and stepped closer to her. Emily, I care about you, truly. But if your heart is with Noah, then that's where you should go. Don't split yourself trying to protect me. His voice didn't crack, but she could hear the hurt beneath the calm. Emily wiped her eyes. You're a good man, Liam. He gave her a small, sad smile. I try. The room felt full of emotions, regret, relief, sadness, all blending together like the last fading colors of a sunset. Noah stood and approached Emily slowly, giving her space, as if afraid of overwhelming her. Emily, I still love you. I've always loved you. If you want to try again, I'm here. I won't run. And I won't leave like before. Emily looked up at him, and for the first time that morning, she felt something settle inside her, a calm she hadn't felt in years. I want to try again, she whispered. If you still want me? Noah's eyes softened with warmth and disbelief. He stepped closer and wrapped his arms gently around her, holding her like something precious. She leaned into him, feeling safe, feeling seen. Feeling whole, Liam looked away with a quiet breath, letting the moment belong to them. After a long pause, he grabbed his coat. I'll check if the walkway is clear. You too. Take your time. When he walked outside, Emily turned to Noah with worry. Is he going to be okay? Noah nodded slowly. He will be. Liam feels things deeply, but he also understands life better than most people. Emily sighed, guilt still lingering but slowly easing. I didn't want to break anyone's heart. You didn't, Noah whispered. You just found yours again? Emily leaned her head against his shoulder. Outside, the clouds were clearing, and a soft blue sky began to show. The storm had passed not just outside, but between them. Later, they stepped outside into the cold morning air. Liam stood near the snowbank, hands in his pockets, giving them a small nod. Even hurt, he still cared. Emily looked back at the old motel one last time. This was the place where fear broke, where truth surfaced, and where her heart finally chose a direction. 3 people walked in with confusion. Only clarity walked out.